Hi brothers and sisters, I hope you well. Today is 12th of March 2025. The images we get in from Sudzha in in Russia, in the Kursk region, they're incredible. It's a complete failure from the Ukrainian army what is taking place right now. Do you remember last year when you have the Western countries, the US, under the leadership of Joe Biden? You have France, you have the UK, you have Germany, you have all these countries and the newspapers basically saying that the Ukrainians have the right to invade Russia because Russia invaded Ukraine, and then saying that the counter-offensive or the offensive in Sudzha, it was a success. I told you so many times on previous channels that have been banned and closed. I told you so many times that this will be a failure. Not only that, I also told you that in the Second World War, the Germans did exactly the same mistake. They got into Kursk and they couldn't get out. They got defeated right there. So you see now that the USA decided to stop the support, hold support temporarily for Ukraine until they reach a peace agreement or ceasefire, which is what they're trying to push now to Russia. Okay. Now, because the Americans have changed their approach, we can actually see what is going on in Kursk. So the Ukrainians have lost thousands and thousands of troops in Kursk just to prove the world that they are able to attack Russia. Obviously, Russia set up that trap. They saw them going in through an unprotected area of the front. They went in, and many never go back to Ukraine. And they kept sending reinforcements. They kept sending Western military hardware to Kursk in order to continue advancing somehow. But they got caught in a place which was surrounded by a river. And it was pretty much really difficult to pass through. Okay? So the Russians, basically, they launched an operation through a pipeline, gas pipeline, okay? They sent 800 Russian soldiers right at the rear of the Ukrainian positions, and they destroyed them, basically. In all the parts, the Ukrainians just flee. They fled the area. They're running away. They're living there. Tanks, they're living there. Military vehicles from the west, we see like Humvees being taken by the Russians, intact. M1 Abrams tanks taken by the Russians, intact. Strikers taken intact. We've seen many vehicles taken intact in Kursk by the Russians because the Ukrainians are just abandoning it. They're just running as fast as they can in order to stay alive. So right now, as I speak, Sudzha is falling. The Ukrainians have lost this stronghold, basically. And there is nothing behind them, okay, to protect them. Because they did not work in creating defenses. No trenches, no other fortifications, nothing. They have to run back to Ukraine. When I say run, I literally mean run by foot. Because the Russians basically have control over all the roads that lead outside of this place towards Ukraine. Okay? So they're not using vehicles because the Russians are using FPV drones to attack them. Every single vehicle that moves, they go after it. Ukrainian soldiers that have been injured or wounded, they're left in the battlefield. The Russians are advancing slowly and they are filming the horrors that they are seeing, which is hundreds of bodies of Ukrainian soldiers on the ground, just littered everywhere, basically. Hundreds. They're also discovering atrocities that were conducted by the Ukrainian army against the civilians in that region. They're showing videos now of what they've done to the civilian population. And I can tell you, it is disgusting. These are war crimes. And this might be one of the reasons why the Russians will not agree to a ceasefire with Ukraine, as the US is proposing right now. So the situation is really bad for Ukraine in many fronts. It's really bad due to the fact that the US has stopped the support. Although the Europeans want to replace this support, they are unable to do it. So, Zelensky, instead of reaching a deal with Russia that he could have done ages ago, okay, he continues basically, or he did continue to say that they will continue fighting Russia. Now, after the US put pressure on Ukraine and they reached an agreement with this mineral deal, the Ukrainians decided that they're willing to sit down with the Russians. They went to Saudi Arabia to talk with the US in order to agree in a ceasefire. We know what ceasefire is. We saw what ceasefire was in Syria. And look at what happened today. Ceasefires are used by Ukraine in order to violate them. Simple as that. They won't respect it. And what they will do, they'll get enough weapons, enough soldiers to keep the war ongoing. So the Russians know this, and most probably they will prolong the response for months, weeks, who knows, whilst they continue advancing in order to take the territories that they said that they will be incorporated within Russia, or they just reject the ceasefire. Because right now they're winning in the battlefield, they're winning in the diplomatic sphere as well, because the US now is actually recognizing Russia as some kind of partner. Right now Russia has the upper hand, as they always did anyways. So this is what's going on. It's a really difficult situation for the Ukrainians, and all this could have been avoided. Anyways, I hope you like this information. Press like, bookmark this, share it, and as always, I'll continue informing you.